Welcome, everyone. You are listening to and perhaps watching Not Sauce for Work. I'm your host, Bees Delariz, and for the first time ever, Terry, I got the name of the show right. Terry Time joins me. How's it going, Terry?
It goes great, but this is the fourth time you said it on our third episode, and you finally did it because we recorded this piece before.
Yeah, we had to do.
But Eagle sucks at his job, so.
It's true. Not that I suck. I blame the technology for everything.
Always. When all else fails, blame technology. That's what I do when it works. And look at me, I'm great.
I mean, if you guys want to talk about who blames technology for stuff.
You don't blame technology. You don't give it technology a chance. It's always like, click one button. It doesn't work. Eagle, what do I do? That's you.
Yeah, you're the guy who doesn't know what a right click is at the office, right? Like, just right click it. You're like, what is that?
Not right. It's not even that I don't give it a chance, and I'm not even like, Eagle, what do I do? It doesn't work. Eagle, fix it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also, you're a lefty too, so your right click throws you off even more.
Exactly, because it's like, right click on my right hand. What is this nonsense? How about you make better mice for the left hand?
Yeah, be better.
Mouses, more mouse.
Terry, no, just imagine this. Left click with your left hand and see how weird that feels.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? That's my whole life experience right there. Boys, we've had a hell of a couple of weeks. We decided to do this whole, expansion of Hot Sauce Sports, rebranding of our show amidst, political insurrection. And, a lot of our shows, the first couple of shows in the sort of the rebrand and in this whole atmosphere were a little heavy-handed just because, hey, we react to the things that are happening around us. We did not plan for political insurrection because we're not idiots on QAnon. So there's that. That said, it happened. We reacted to it.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to getting to the laughs and the jokes and stuff like that. And that's what today's show is going to be about. We do have an interesting interview. It's going to be a break. We're going to have some laughs. We're going to have an interview with some serious subject matter. We're going to talk to Ryan Phillips, ex-pro hockey player. He's actually doing a podcast with Jimmy Thompson, former NHLer, but also Elvis Stoico, Canadian legend. The
legend that follows him is that he beat up Eric Lindros, Elvis Stoico, because he's like some sort of black belt in Taekwondo or karate or something. So that'd be interesting.
Listen, man, he was a great enough athlete to get a bunch of dudes into figure skating at a time where, it wasn't cool to not be masculine. You know what I mean? So, the fact that he made guys like you and I, Terry, care about figure skating just shows how badass this guy is.
Two reasons why I care about figure skating. One, Elvis Stoico. Two, the movie Cutting Edge. You ever see Cutting Edge?
I didn't see it. I saw Blades of Glory, though, with Will Ferrell.
That's a great movie, too. But Cutting Edge is like the ultimate hockey figure skating movie. It's about a retired hockey player shunned hockey player who's such a good skater that they invite him to the U.S. national skating team, and he ends up falling in love with his skating partner. It's called Cutting Edge. It's a great movie. It's from the early 90s. So motorcycles, montages, bars,
amazing.
Leather jackets,
It's a fucking
Ray-Bans,
romantic comedy. Are you out of your goddamn mind? Why would you watch that garbage?
Cutting Edge is not a romantic comedy. There is some
Cutting Edge, the 1992 American sports romantic comedy film directed by Paul Michael Glaser.
It is a very serious movie. It's a great.
Is Sandra Bullock in this? It sounds like she should be.
No, Moira Kelly and Doug D.B. Sweeney or something.
Yeah, D.B. Sweeney. The guy who looks like John Cusack but isn't John Cusack. You know who I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
It's fitting for today's show because we have a hockey player that fell from grace in Ryan Phillips, who fell in love with the idea of doing a podcast with Elvis Stoico, Johnny Thompson?
Jimmy Thompson. You said it once, yeah.
Yeah, I did. So fell in love with those dudes, did a show together, came on our show, made some sweet love with us. So the interview, again, it's really interesting. We don't always talk to people for a good time. Sometimes we talk to people because we're interested in their story, and we figure if we're interested, so might you be. We also have a ton of content coming out on the site. David Bruno had 2 blogs out. One about Wayne Rooney and his time at Man U, as well as the January transfers. John's earliest Monday morning. It's my favorite Tuesday morning article to read while I'm taking a shit. It's perfectly timed. It's the right length for me to be engaged. Click on a couple of links, read the article, get through it. Before I know it, I'm wiping up and getting ready for the shower.
We also had I think since the episode, Mark Dumont. He came on our show a few months last year, I think. Habs. He has a Habs podcast. He works directly with the Habs. He used to work for the Athletic. He was let go when they did their budget cuts, and they let go a bunch of authors. Some writers. He's one of the best writers, especially when it comes to hockey. And he was on the Healthy Scratch podcast, episode 2, which will probably be coming out this week. And they spoke for an hour. He's like, I'll give you guys I told him 15, 20 minutes. He's like, yeah, cool. He ended up giving the guys an hour, which is cool, which is good on his part. Mark Dumont is a great guy, and he's a friend. He's a friend of the show, friend of the network, I will say. And,
absolutely, and we wasted his time by going through Game of Thrones fan theories with him. The guys,
I know he actually appreciated that. He messaged me after. He's like, I loved it.
No, but it's like, listen, what we do is sort of the circus of sports, right? We sort of have a good time. We spin plates. And so, like, when we have a guest like Mark, it's fun, but we only get a short amount of time, 15, 20 minutes. So it's cool that the guys from Healthy Scratch were able to give him the time. At the time, someone as respected as him deserves. So I'm looking forward to when it comes out. John and I actually have a joint article about our interview with Sean Campbell and a call to arms for our fans and for our community. From March 23rd, we're going to do it. It's going to be it's a day that Sean and his friends have always celebrated. It's the day of the Wandering Caribou. It has a very sacred meaning. It's a day where you drink beers, and I figure we like beers, so we will celebrate this day. We'll co-opt it in honor of our friendship with Sean Campbell and a lot of his colleagues as well. We even started this network with Mo Khan of TSN 690. So
exactly.
Definitely thankful for all the guests that they've given us and for our continued relationship with a lot of the guys on there.
Just adds to it. I think we've had Joey Alfieri on Weekly Sauce. He was supposed to come on this week as well. We got Sean Campbell. Mo Khan has come on. Who else have we got from TSN? I feel like we have.
Well, Andy McNamara at the time.
Oh, Andy Mac, Sportsnet, I guess. So yeah. So we Carlin Gray. We've gotten Andrew Shanidi. I mean, TSN's been very friendly to us for no reason.
They're just good guys, man. Like, what I like about our relationship with them, we don't have an official relationship. We're not like exclusive to TSN. We're not an affiliate in any way. I just like the dudes because overall, everyone we met there is just not this stuck up like sports journalist that the musty old journalists of our youth. They're guys who just have a good time. They have fun. Yeah. They like to come on our show and have a good time and sort of joke around with us, and we totally appreciate that. Whether they're from TSN or otherwise, we just have had the luck of having a lot of guys from TSN on our show. Terry, yesterday, of course, was the inauguration. That was the big news. And before that, of course, was the list of pardons that President Donald Trump put forward. It wasn't
former President Donald Trump.
Well, no, but that's a title
you still call him president, though.
So
former
actually,
president.
for now, until sort of the proceedings of the 25th Amendment go through, we still refer to him as President Donald Trump because in the United States, it's a title you keep forever. But
we still say President Bush. We still say President Obama.
Yeah, he might be stripped of that title though once if they decide to pursue criminal charges and all that. But we'll do that show when we get there because I'm sure we will. But when I saw the list, there's obviously some of the names you expected. You expected the Bannons. A couple of unfortunate names when you see child murderers and such. We also saw some nonviolent drug offenses get commuted, which was something that I didn't expect and something that is commendable. And Lil Wayne got his sentence commuted. But one name that was missing, Terry, the big name, was Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic remains in prison.
Did you see the tweet?
Sorry?
Did you see the tweet today?
I did not see the tweet. What did he say?
I'll get it. Finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I'll filibuster for you. So
okay,
he says what he did was he actually appealed to President Trump's sensibilities, and by that I mean his giant ego.
I got it.
Joe Exotic's a con man, right? Like he knows how to get people on his side. And what he did was he looked at the president and says, "Hey, what does this guy like?" And he said, "You know what? I have this unfair trial, just like you had that unfair impeachment trial. The media and Netflix did me wrong, just like the media did you wrong. You tried to build a kinship with President Trump, but unfortunately, I guess he just wasn't popular enough. He's no Lil Wayne.
I got it. I was too innocent and too gay to deserve a pardon from Trump. I only mattered to Don Jr. when he needed to make a comment about me to boost a social media post. Boy, we were all stupid to believe he actually stood for equal justice. His corrupt friends all come first. And then he followed that with, for the record, all I ever asked for was the truth and evidence to be told in my defense. All the big stuff, limos, jets, and buses was not my idea, nor did I rent them. Now, can we please concentrate on exposing the corruption? What they really did to me was wrong. The inmates here at FMC, I don't know where he is, are also very disappointed I didn't get the pardon because they all say I don't belong here. So other people that scream innocent, I'm not guilty, said you're not innocent, you're innocent and you're not guilty. That's true. That's the facts.
He's in Fort Worth, by the way, the Federal Medical Center, FMC.
Okay.
I would look. We all enjoyed Tiger King. We had a great laugh. And then I heard someone who works in the industry, Ron McGill of Zoo Miami, and Zoo Miami is a famed conservatory for animals. They help preserve endangered species and so on and so forth. He basically said, these people are all criminals. We shouldn't be celebrating them. And then I felt really bad. So while the story is funny and the image of a limo coming to pick up Joe Exotic is funny, and the idea also, Terry, you said it in reading the tweet where he's trying to expose the corruption that wouldn't have existed if he got pardoned. By the way,
exactly,
love that.
Absolutely, I love it.
It's the dude got what he deserved, man, and he's for a reason. But that's old news. We got news to look ahead to because it's time for the news. Terry is the news.
Fuck.
I've officially said the word news 4 times in the last 2 sentences. So there's that. Deshaun Watson, we talked about it last week. We talked about the rumors of the Dolphins, but now a story's come out. I believe it was reported initially on Bleacher Report. It was talking about the value for Deshaun Watson. The value appears to be, at minimum, 3 first-round picks.
I don't think anybody's going to give up 3 first-round picks for him.
You don't? Like if you're a team looking for a quarterback, are you really, other than Trevor Lawrence?
How about this?
Are you taking any other quarterback this round?
How about what teams are looking for a quarterback? So let's start there. Jacksonville.
Yeah, obviously. Arguably Jets.
Arguably to a certain extent, Jets.
Arguably Detroit if they want to move away from Stafford.
Redskins.
Yes. Redskins have their guy.
Washington football team.
Who's Redskins quarterback? Alex Smith?
Washington football team.
Oh, sorry. Washington football team. Who is it? Alex Smith?
No, it's that other guy that filled in.
No, come on. It's not the
best. He's the backup.
He's good, man. He can start. Heineke, what is his name?
Yeah, Heineke.
He can totally start.
Yeah, he'll be like Fitzpatrick. A lesser version of Fitzpatrick, I think.
You think? I think he can actually be okay. Anyway,
I mean, we don't know. We don't know. He had a great game we had a great game against the Bucs. We'll see, but Denver? I don't think he's going to go into camp as the official starter, which is what I'm saying. I think the football team, Washington, is going to be looking at quarterback. So, and I don't think the Jets are looking for a quarterback. I really don't. I think that they're going to try and build around what they have already, because Darnold is already a huge asset for them, regardless of how he's played. I think that he deserves a fair chance with a coach that's going to be able to coach him up.
Falcons, potentially Panthers, potentially Bears.
Panthers, no. Bears, no.
Absolutely.
Yes. What?
Panthers have, at this point, a journeyman quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater.
But they
his career basically derailed by injury. It's not his fault, but that's what happened.
Colts have to replace Rivers. We'll talk about that later. Arguably, Vikings need someone. Arguably, Saints need someone now.
Forget about the Vikings. Forget about the Saints. They have Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston.
Eagles got to do something.
Eagles have Jalen Hurts.
And so, like, Terry, but you're looking. I feel like you're looking at it from the view of the old salary rules. These quarterbacks that you're drafting cost nothing. So if you're in a position like the Saints where if you're not 100% sure on Taysom Hill and Jameis, and you're not paying either one as a starting quarterback, and you won't pay the third quarterback as a starting quarterback, why wouldn't you do it?
So the Saints, where are they drafting? They're not drafting high enough to go for a quarterback,
No,
right?
probably not. But unless they trade up. The thing is, if you're the Jets, though, this is your last chance to get value for Darnold, because if this year doesn't work out, he's worth nothing.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was like, the value for the Texans is that if they want Darnold, if they like Darnold, then they would go after him and trade Deshaun Watson for Darnold and a first-round pick.
If you go Darnold in the second pick in the draft, you can go Darnold and let's say Justin Fields, for example, and then you get to pick and choose. Hey, is Darnold the guy? Do we trade Fields for value? Do we trade Darnold for value?
I think if they give up something for Darnold, then they're not going to be drafting Fields at second. They'll probably go somewhere else like Devontae Smith or something. I don't know if that.
I think you have a view of Sam Darnold that nobody except his mom has.
No, I'm not alone on this. I think that Sam Darnold has. I really don't think he's had a fair chance. Who has been his receivers? His O-line he has one offensive lineman that's a potential Pro Bowler. He has. The defense is beyond garbage. They have no running game. Like Darnold, as good as he came out to be, his rookie year was actually decent for a rookie. And then Gase became Gase and kind of took his talent away from him. He took his thunder. Okay, he took his lightning away from him. I'm in on Darnold for another 2 years. If I don't see anything from Darnold for another 2 years, then he's gone. But I think
in 2 years he won't be more talented. So the guys in that building need to make the decision now.
There's no doubt that he has talent, but we're saying is everybody has talent. Anybody gets drafted.
You don't get to the NFL without talent.
Exactly. Everybody has talent. He has the talent to be a starter in the NFL. We've seen it. We've seen it in his first game. Remember his first game? He threw a pick the first play, and then he ended up winning the game. He threw 4 touchdowns, whatever it was. Darnold is a good player. He just needs extra guidance as opposed to other guys who might not need that extra guidance.
So here's the thing. I have a couple of observations to make. One is that Adam Gase is basically an NFL horror movie in that he looks you in the eye and sucks out all your talent.
He's a dementor.
One comparison, but he leaves you as like an empty husk of a human.
He's a dementor. You ever see on Harry
Dementor,
Potter?
That's good. That's a great one.
He's a dementor. He looks at you and he just starts sucking the soul right out of you.
And much like how you can't have sex while watching Harry Potter, after watching the Jets play, you have no libido.
No libido.
No libido at all. Also, what's going on in Houston? I feel like everyone's leaving town. Like James Harden wants out, Deshaun Watson wants out. Like they win one championship in baseball and everything. George Springer, which we're going to talk about later, they seemingly can't keep talent in that city.
It's impossible.
I think it's the food, maybe. Like, you've heard of Texas barbecue or Louisiana barbecue. Have you heard of Houston barbecue? That's not a thing. Or if it is, it can't be good because nobody knows of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a St. Louis barbecue kind of guy. I'm not gonna lie.
I'd argue that Texas is not really barbecue because it's just beef. You need some pork shoulder. You gotta go.
Pork shoulder in Texas. You get some pulled pork.
What? Man, you're getting like steaks on a barbecue, and that's pretty much it. And some briskets.
And a brisket.
I guess. Yeah, it's a steak. It's more like a steak area. Lots of steak. Lots of I get that. Yeah. But I'm a St. Louis ribs guy. I'm like a. How do you say, like a Kansas barbecue pulled pork kind of thing? I like that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm more of a Midwestern barbecue guy.
I get a lot of flack from the people I know in Texas because I spend so much time in like the Georgia, South Carolina area, and I'm always gonna keep up for that part of that part of the country when it comes to barbecue. But Texas is very protective. Texans are very proud. You know what I mean? But maybe be less proud and hold on to your athletes is all we're saying. Phil Rivers is retiring, and this is a guy who he did 2 things. He procreated, and he played football. He most recently was still living in San Diego and commuting to LA every day before he got to Indianapolis. And he would study. He would use the car ride because he wouldn't drive himself. He would study the whole way there. This guy just breathed and lived football and procreating. Obviously, the joke is with all this extra time, all he's going to do is make more children. But I feel like that whole part of his life is retired. What does Phil Rivers do now?
Phil Rivers now has to become a coach, but of only like Christian high schools. You know what I mean? Like where there's no girls.
Okay.
No girls.
Obviously.
No masturbation allowed. Mm-hmm. And strictly in high school. And he becomes the gym teacher plus the coach. Also, he moonlights as the vice principal.
I'm gonna
Vice
put a
principal,
twist on his
gym
life
teacher,
here,
football
right?
coach.
He's gone this much time being like the perfect role model, right? Perfect father, perfect quarterback, inspirational leader, everything you can think of. And I think he reaches that moment in his life when he goes, "Oh my God, I put so many years into this. I need to do something else." Have his midlife crisis, and we see him somewhere in like Miami Beach with cocaine on his nose and everything, hookers in hand, with like a drug bust happening behind the scenes, right? Like you see him in some weird mugshot that'll show up on the internet a few days afterwards, and it's just a disheveled version of Philip Rivers.
Yeah, he just has like one crazy night just to say that fuck it, I'm gonna let go, and he murders somebody like the Purge.
Well, he swears for the first time. That would be something, right?
That'd be amazing. Imagine he drops an F-bomb, but he says like fudge.
Just imagine like he does what other quarterbacks do, and he goes into like broadcasting or something, and like on his first ever show he just drops an F-bomb right in the middle of it. First time in his entire life on live television, just goes ahead and does it.
I don't see him doing broadcasting. I think he might be like one of those guys that might come on TV once in a while to be an analyst, but I don't see him doing like Tony Romo does. I don't see that at all.
I've always found him to have like a fat boy face, so I feel like he's actually going to be Will Ferrell from Old School, just start hanging around at a fraternity and then just sort of become like the godfather of that fraternity who now no longer swears. And it's like a fraternity that's like gotten behind the idea of abstinence. And then before you know it, he's the only member of that fraternity.
So I agree to a certain extent. I only agree if he's a fraternity of like where like, oh, my dad went to this fraternity, so like you have to be proper. Not like an Old School type, Will Ferrell type, more like a the villains on Accepted, like those guys, the rich.
He never gets to go back to being Frank the Tank, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, his fraternity is only underground parties where they like dress in khakis and Ralph Lauren polos and things like that.
The sweater tied over
sweater
the polo.
vest, yeah, over that's the Philip Rivers I see, but he's like the renegade of those guys. He's like the Will Ferrell of those guys. Yeah.
He's the badass of those guys. Absolutely.
You can't see him on TV though, being an analyst. He's a smart guy. Like, did you hear the story about JJ Watt and the defensive line call and everything?
Go ahead, tell it, Eagle.
So JJ Watt put out a tweet basically saying, he's playing with the Texans against, at that point, the Chargers. And Rivers looks over to the defensive line and tells one of the linemen, "Hey, you're in the wrong spot for that blitz package you're about to run. Right? You're not lined up properly." And they run the play, and of course, the Chargers execute successfully on that offensive drive. And J.J. Watt goes, he was 100% correct. He knew exactly what defense we were running and that this guy was not lining up properly. Like, you have to know the game to be able to do that. So I can see him being like a counterpart to Romo. Like, imagine them in like the booth yelling at each other in terms of like, no, this is going to happen. No, that's going to happen.
So he probably did that against the Texans with Bill O'Brien was coaching, right? So, I mean, that's just
that's true. Very predictable.
That's really not that impressive. Secondly, I feel like he is too much, like, he's too nervous to be in the booth. I feel like he's gonna try and like beat the shit out of Al Michaels or something. I don't know. I can't picture him doing it.
Either way, guys, I don't know what the NFL is gonna be like, because what are we gonna do when we don't have Phil Rivers down 5 points, 60 yards to go, 90 seconds, and no timeouts? He's lived his whole life that way. He's lived absolutely his whole life that way.
And I remember his speech when he left the Chargers last year, and it was he was right, man. He's like, I don't care. I'll throw in 2 interceptions. I don't give a shit. As long as like we all put it out there and we try to win every single play. And he's like, I'm just gonna go out and win. Like, I just want to win. I don't care what the cost is. I'm gonna go out and win. And that's why I always liked Phil Rivers. Like yelling on the sideline. Like, I like that type of thing. And because he was so genuine about it. He wasn't fake. He wasn't bullshit. He was a Bible humping, no jerking off, too many kids, driving his limo from San Diego to LA. Like, that's just what he was. He was
a good version of Tim Tebow.
A good guy that he put everything on the line. He put everything on the line.
Yeah, he loved the way he played the game. Drew Brees also retires.
Officially, or
it's been confirmed. I don't think there's been the big statement that's gone out, but I mean, it's been confirmed by every analyst and insider.
Also, like the Saints salary cap kind of confirms it, because they're like $42 million over the cap if he comes back, and like they're the amount over the cap that basically is his salary. Like they absolutely planned it before the season.
There's nothing that tells you that Brees might be saying this, and then like 2 months from now, after the draft, when there's a team that doesn't have a quarterback or something happens, or like Chicago might call and be like, "Listen, we want a quarterback. We want you."
Oh, he's gonna pull Brett Favre.
Yeah, exactly. He played for Chicago. Like, is that out of the realm of possibility?
No. I mean, I think it's his last game with the Saints. I think that
I think we can agree on that. Yeah.
But I mean,
and so
you
like,
really think someone's going to take him with his broken arm? Like, he can't throw past 15 yards anymore, and that was his game, right? Hitting the middle of the field on 30-yard bombs. That if he can't do that, what can he do?
And what kind of disrespect to my boy Mitch would they do if they signed Drew Brees and
well,
Big Dick
we're
Nick?
replacing a guy who's not very good for a guy.
Yeah, but if you're going to replace a guy who can do checkdowns with a guy who can only do checkdowns, I mean, I would give myself the possibility of throwing a deep ball.
You bite your tongue. Don't talk about Mitch, my boy Mitch, like that. The only
Okay, I won't.
only MVP of all time.
It's true. The only MVP in a losing effort. The only Nickelodeon valuable player. No, so like when the thing with Drew Brees that amazes me is that I think we all saw before Sean Payton, who is by far smarter than anyone in this conversation when it comes to the sport of football. But we all saw that Drew Brees was done before he did, it seems. Like it seems like the team was built for what Drew Brees was, and he's very obviously not that player anymore.
Well, we had this conversation with Alex the intern in our group chat where he was talking about how Michael Thomas runs those slants really well, and that's what he makes his money. And where Drew Brees made his money a long time ago by throwing deep, you take that away from him. Okay, we have this guy that you can throw those under routes to. Perfect. That worked for a little bit. Then people started figuring out that he's not going to be able to throw deep. Let's put everybody in the box. Let's put everybody in that 15 to 20 yard range, and they just took it away from him. And I think it's a little sad. It's a little sad that we had to get to this point where we're not looking at Drew Brees as the Hall of Famer that he is, because realistically, statistically, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks of all time. We can't deny that. The guy was 6 feet tall, and he was throwing it over his offensive line and throwing it down the middle to name every single freaking receiver that he's made monies for. Remember Devery Henderson? Huge payday. Who else did he have? Marcus Colston. These guys are making money, and they wouldn't be a number one receiver on anybody else's team.
Marcus Colston was a 7th round pick.
Jimmy Graham? How much money did he make for Jimmy Graham?
Yeah, who's a solid player.
Yeah, he's a good player, but he wasn't
he's been disappointing with the Packers last year and the Bears this year, right? Yeah.
The other thing is too, like Terry, you talked about, or Eagle, you just mentioned how Drew Brees made his career throwing the ball over the middle of the field, and that interception to Alvin Kamara where it gets undercut on a seam route to Kamara. That used to be money. That was a touchdown every time I've ever watched the Saints, and instead it gets undercut by either a safety or a linebacker because it's just the ball doesn't get there the way it gets there in Brees' mind. And so it was kind of sad. It was kind of sad to see. At the end of the game, though, I think I'm going to start calling it Tom versus Time. Like the documentary was Tom versus Time, but it was Tom versus what we now see as Time, which is the aging, decrepit body of one Drew Brees, who absolutely Hall of Famer, but he wasn't a Hall of Famer this past week or most of the season. But at the end of the game, it was a nice moment. The two quarterbacks sort of hanging out. But I'm on to you. Tom Brady. He's going to throw a pass here to Drew Brees' kid, and we're going to see that on the screen. I don't think this is a nice moment. I think
is this staged? Is this staged in any way?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think this is Tom Brady trying to show up Drew Brees in another way. But I'll let you guys discuss why you think it's a nice moment or why it's staged. Terry, you go for it first.
I don't think it's staged, but a lot of people do think it's staged. I think they say that these two guys specifically always know when the camera's on. And there's a bunch of different angles that we've seen of this. Like there's a camera back there where that guy is on the green, and like I was scrolling my mouse over it, but you guys can't see back there. There's a bunch of cameras around, so I guess Tom Brady is aware. But everything I've heard of Tom Brady said he's a perfectly nice guy, and I think so too. When I look at him, I'm like, this guy's genuinely a nice guy. Is he cheesy? Oh, he's beyond cheesy, but he's a good guy. You can tell.
I'm gonna disagree. I think I have always thought he was a good guy, but I think we have proof that he might be a jerk. Two things. One is he's like he sees the off-season controversies with Drew Brees, and then he says, you know what? You made such a big deal about kneeling. How about the last play you've seen in your career is me kneeling on the field?
There you go.
So that's one. Two is, Eagle, that last throw that Drew Brees made when he threw the triple coverage and got intercepted. What route was it? What route was the receiver running?
That was a wheel route, also known as an out and up.
And what is Drew Brees' kid running in this video?
He's running an out and up.
Out and up, and Tom Brady puts it over the child, into the child's hands. Perfect throw. The throw that Drew Brees couldn't make. There we go. Tom Brady sticking it to the old man. I have proof. Looks like Tom Brady is a jerk after all.
Absolutely. He's a piece of shit. Take back everything I said about him.
Speaking of which, Colin Cowherd, he talked about the Patrick Mahomes injury. We saw him get injured, Terry. It was rough to see Pat Mahomes get injured in such a big moment. And Chad Henne came in, and we'll talk about the Chad Henne side of this in a second. But, going through the concussion protocol, and it looks as though Pat Mahomes will play this weekend. But Colin Cowherd had the following to say about what the NFL should do with the game if Pat Mahomes can't play.
Oh, right, I can't hear it.
That's reasonable.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm sitting here this morning thinking, if I'm the NFL, Patrick Mahomes is going through protocol. I find the day Patrick Mahomes can play, that's when we play. Why not? The end write that thing.
Why not? Because that's not how schedules work.
The thing about Colin Cowherd is that now he's trying to become a soundbite. I don't know what he's trying to do. If he's trying to get fired from Fox or like he got fired from ESPN. I don't know what he's trying to do. But ever since he left ESPN, he's gone off his fucking marbles. The guy is losing it on a daily basis, and we're watching it. You remember how Larry King used to fart?
Yeah.
On air, and people be like, "Did you just fart?" He's like, "Yeah, I farted." Like, he's old. This guy's farting out of his mouth all the time, and he's just every fucking episode he's just trying to make a soundbite, and it works because every time in my time, I don't even like any of them anymore, but they always show up. I always see a Colin Cowherd post about him talking about one subject and then counter arguing the subject the next day. He's just clickbait. That's all he is at this point.
So the video wasn't particularly clear enough to tell. Is he rocking a goatee?
Well, that's a good point, actually. You go put it back. If he's rocking a goatee, I'm gonna hate it as much as
now. Hold on.
As much as I hated him smoking those cigars.
Eagle, just confirm it. Look at it on your screen. You tell us if he's wearing a goatee.
He's officially offended.
It's a little bit grainy, but it does look like he does have a very patchy white goatee, but almost like it was shaved down the middle, so it's only on the sides of his chin. Really, it's very strange.
He's officially offended multiple groups. Chiefs fans, number one. Cigar smokers, because he ruined that cigar the other day. Absolutely annihilated. Now, goatee guys, because this goatee looks awful. Two, people who swallow their saliva, because apparently this guy has no idea how to swallow his fucking saliva. It just lives there. And he also insulted people with Botox because it's awfully clear how much Botox this guy does.
Well, the Botox and the saliva is grouped together because I think his face is just a mask of Colin at this point. Like, when he's long since dead and buried, like, him and Jerry Jones are going to leave behind just like a grave of bones and a perfectly maintained face. Like, they are wearing their own death masks as it is. But the other part of this, I gotta say, Colin, the 90s villains called. They want their goatee back, because who has a goatee in 2021? Listen, you can't just move a game. There's advertising dollars at stake. By moving a game, it would cost the network doing it so much money. And in the end, that's what this is. This is a game for money. It's not like if it was a big boxer, I can even see that argument more because it's pay-per-view. These contracts are already paid out in advance. So you're not paying for the football game. You've paid for a package. The ads are already paid. All of the payments done in advance. So they need to deliver the product when they said so. But I guess Colin's never worked for a network that has carried sports games before, because clearly he doesn't know how it works.
Also, just to add on, it already is the last game on the Sunday. What day are you going to move it to? Like the Monday, the Tuesday? You're going to magically invent COVID in some of the Bills players and delay it just because you want to? I mean, actually, they could probably do that.
COVID was such a disaster for that reason. And if you read any of the sort of sports business stuff that was coming out at the time, it was a tough time to be running a network, man, because they kept taking L's when it came to rescheduling. And that's why the leagues didn't like doing it. That's why the NBA went with a strict bubble, because they knew, hey, if we cancel games, it's going to cost us money, and we've already lost a ton of money. But look, we get to see one side of this, and that's Colin Cowherd. The other side of broadcasting is a guy who I consider to be an absolute gem. Terry, I'm with you. I actually like Tony Romo as a player. I actually think he didn't get enough credit because he played at a time, especially when people considered wins and playoff wins to be specifically the responsibility of the quarterback. But as a commentator, I don't think, like, if you don't like Tony Romo, I'm sorry, you're just an asshole. Like, the guy is just having fun. He sounds different, and this is one example. This is him reacting to Chad Henne at the end of the Chiefs game.
They put Henne in the gun. Walk up, pretend like you're going to go ahead and quarterback sneak it, motion him back, try and draw him off sides, and then take a timeout. You walk up there and say, no play, everybody. Don't jump. There's no play. Just look at the body language. Oh, there is a play. Henne rolling out, throws it. Hill! And the Chiefs are heading to the AFC Championship game. Only Andy Reid gets it shotgun on 4th and an inch. And throws the ball with his backup quarterback.
I love how Tony Romo is like he's like oh, they're not gonna go play. It's clear they're not gonna do a play. They're gonna try and bait them offside, and then they run the play. He's like, and only Andy Reid does it on 4th and 1. It's true. Only Andy Reid has big enough balls to do this shit. And people hated on Tony Romo for always trying to predict the play, but he's the only one that does anything different than all these other color guys. Like you don't like Troy Aikman. I like Troy Aikman, but yeah, he's boring. He can be boring sometimes. You know what I mean? I like Joe Buck, but yeah, he could be boring sometimes. And when you talk about all these color guys, Booker McFarland was like the opposite end of the spectrum where he was too much. But now we have a guy that's Tony Romo he has a good relationship with Jim Nantz. Like they have a great relationship. They're very good back and forth. The first year was a little rough for Tony Romo. He was cutting Jim Nantz off. Like he wasn't allowing it. But now he's worked it. He's made his money. He's really good, man. I like Tony Romo almost as much as I liked him as a Cowboy.
But also, I mean, in Romo's defense for the content or the prediction, if you're the Browns defense on that play, how many of those 11 guys are also expecting no play and telling themselves, just don't jump offside, just don't jump?
All the DBs weren't expecting it, and they took the play off. I think the defensive linemen, they got off the ball pretty quick from what you saw, and the linebackers were just a little bit too slow. And I think that, but also Tyreek Hill, I don't care how many people you have him covered on that route, nobody's beating him. Nobody.
Well, I think he makes one cut and the balls get into him. It's the easiest throw to make in the NFL. Chad Henne's been, he's an experienced quarterback. He's been in the NFL a long time. I wonder why he couldn't do any of that when he was with the Dolphins. Definitely not a 13-yard run. The other thing is, though, all playoffs long, you talked about it. You said Andy Reid's the only one with the balls to do it. But all these guys, and we saw this in 3 separate occasions, the most recent one being the Cleveland Browns, down in the 4th quarter with time against you, punting the ball and then never getting it back. Why are you punting the ball in a playoff game when you're down in the 4th quarter? I don't understand. Like we need to start considering when you're down in the 4th quarter, it becomes a four down game. The NFL is a 4-down game. I don't understand what it is these coaches are doing, because we're seeing one of the most respected guys in the game do it, and he gets praised for doing it. So I'd rather see a coach go down in flames and trying something than going down cowardly, like a lot of them have.
I listen. I agree with your sentiment. I do, but public opinion does not.
Public opinion. You're not coaching the public. You're coaching a football team.
No, but the public does not agree with you, is what I'm saying. The public opinion says that will always rip on the guy who tries too hard. You ever heard the term overcoaching? Like when Pete Carroll went through the ball instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch, and they got picked off at the goal line in the Super Bowl, Malcolm Butler against the Patriots. You know what I mean? Like there's all these other examples of overcoaching where people just go and try. I mean, yeah, maybe it is overcoaching. Maybe you did see something that maybe you convince yourself. Like when I make like a $5 bet, I'm like, yeah, I think the Montreal Canadiens can beat the Boston Bruins by 6 goals tonight. There's a 17-1 odds. Let me put $5 on that. I convince myself that it's going to work.
But why would you take the risk that you wouldn't get the ball back? What's the benefit?
I agree 100%. I agree with you 100%. I think it was the absolutely right call. The Browns should have been much more prepared for that call. The fact that from the defensive lineman, from the rush end to the sideline, there was nobody other than the corner. There was nobody there, and Tyreek Hill was lining there. You should have had 3 guys standing in front of Tyreek Hill right away, but they were all just out to lunch.
Just cover Kelsey and Hill.
That's why you got to do, especially on 4th down. Kelsey only makes
you get beat by McCole Hardman, whatever, but don't get beat by the best players. Terry, the Blue Jays are adding a lot of talent to their team. They sign George Springer to $150 million because Houston's having an exodus. It's like it's like when you go to a store and they're selling like it's like the wedding weekend where they sell all the wedding stuff and like it's just mobbed by a whole bunch of white women. Same thing here. That's what's happening in Houston. It's getting mobbed. They're losing all their talent, and the Blue Jays, the beneficiary, they get George Springer. It looks like they're trying to add Michael Brantley as well. He has not yet been signed, although he was rumored to be signed yesterday morning, and by yesterday afternoon, it wasn't the deal yet.
So this is what I like about baseball is that guys will spend money and not be successful, not win. So baseball teams normally other than the Dodgers we saw this year, but that was only because Mookie Betts signed with the Dodgers because the Red Sox didn't want to pay him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the Dodgers ended up paying him. They ended up having this crazy salary. It was crazy. What the Dodgers were paying last year was nuts. But at the end of the day, it worked out. For the Blue Jays, on the other hand, where they have to play against the Red Sox, they have to play against the Yankees. The Yankees are a very good team right now. They have to play against both these teams. Them going out to get George Springer is a ballsy move. It's a great move for them because George Springer is one of the best players in the MLB. I think everybody across the board is going to say that. But you have to spend money to make money. Nobody is going to give a shit about the Blue Jays if they don't win. That's how Toronto sports are. They're just the only people that matter are the Leafs, and right now, that's all it is. They're not going to get any. George Springer isn't going to be putting people in the seats unless the W show up. And I think that's what they're hoping for, but I just don't see it happening for the Blue Jays. I just don't think that they have the roster to make the playoffs again this year.
I would disagree. I think I've been stuck in too much Toronto traffic after baseball games to say that they need to win. Because at the time that I was there, they were not a good team, and I couldn't move. It was pretty awful. So the impression I got was, you know what? No matter what, it's kind of like the Leafs. Like, no matter what, people show up for some reason. That's just what they do in Toronto. It's like, I have all this money because I live in Toronto. What am I going to do? Let me spend it on season tickets.
Why don't you suck my ass?
Yeah, exactly. That's what
and who the hell wants to go to that place to watch baseball? It's awful. It's awful. It's not a baseball stadium. Like I'll go to New York and watch the Mets play. It's a great place to watch. Like you go to Boston and watch a Red Sox game. It's fun to watch. Toronto's stadium is awful. It's awful.
And what sucks is it's right next to the ACC, which is a beautiful facility.
Yeah, beautiful.
Because it's a product of age, right? Like the ACC is just newer, so that's why that's the case. But they've been discussing making a new stadium. So hopefully the fans that they bring in with George Springer's contract will help get them the funds to build the stadium.
They'll still get public
but that's
funding.
not the big story.
It should be outdoors.
Sorry?
It should be outdoor. I think they should build an outdoor stadium, like a non-dome stadium. I think that it's tough.
Okay, I was gonna transition. Quick thing. One of the many lies David Sampson told about his time in Montreal was that an outdoor stadium would be a non-starter because of the weather. Hey, asshole! Maybe if you would have lived here as when you were working for the Expos, you would have known that our weather from April to basically October is absolutely beautiful.
It's also just like New York City, Chicago, Boston. It's all the same shit.
And I would even venture to say that like it's warmer at certain parts. Like July is like desert heat in maybe not so much in Toronto, but in Montreal it's like desert heat for some reason. Toronto's a really warm city. It's even, and in the colder parts of the year it's more temperate than Montreal. You can absolutely have an outdoor stadium in Canada for baseball. They're not playing in the middle of winter. Relax.
They're playing in November. They end in October, early October. So
yeah. That's not the big story though when it comes to baseball, Terry. Our Mets went out and met it again. They hired a rising star at GM position. This was Cohen's big splash hire. Jared Porter gets hired and then is almost immediately fired after a story comes out where he sent a flurry of texts to a reporter he was corresponding with. It was a foreign language reporter and correspondent. He sent 62 unanswered text messages that ended with a dick pic. Terry, just take it where you want to take it. I don't even know what question to ask you. Just go.
62 unanswered text messages ending with the dick pic. It's not even like you said the dick pic and then you sent 62 apologies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it ends with the
Sorry
dick pic.
so small.
Unanswered. So where did you, within those 62 unanswered text messages, did this fucking moron, good GM by the way, fucking moron, decide to say, hey, maybe a dick is gonna make her want to respond back to me?
I was gonna say, like, when I've been ghosted by girls, normally like the first message, okay, maybe she's busy. You text her 12 hours later, type of thing. Hey, how's it going? You don't get an answer. By the third one, if you send something and they don't answer, the fourth one's like okay, well maybe this isn't working, or maybe you're busy. Text me when you're free. Get back to me. Blah blah blah. At nowhere in that point do you think, you know what can really salvage this conversation? My penis.
My cock. Yeah.
So if I sent 3 unanswered texts to a girl, first of all, I was clearly drunk and not in my own mind. Secondly, when I would see that in the morning, I would want to vomit, and that's without seeing my own penis. So I mean, like, I don't like. Listen, this isn't complicated. You got to do what you got to do. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's never acceptable, especially in a work context, by the way. Okay, sending a dick pic is never acceptable in a work context, first.
Never.
Secondly, sending a dick pic that is not consented upon, it's not something that's particularly criminal. It's also largely inappropriate. A girl doesn't react to your penis and is like, wow, that's a handsome penis. They see it basically like a fungal toenail. So keep that in mind.
Do girls look at dicks and be like, oh, or talk to guys and be like, fuck, I really wish you sent me a dick pic right now? Because usually it takes like a few messages to be like, hey, what are you wearing? Are you down? Oh, I wish I can see you tonight. I'm really in the mood. Like any of those things. And then it's kind of like the door is open or the door is unlocked, not necessarily open. And then you kind of filter. Maybe you send like a bulge pic. You know what I mean? And then you ease into the dick pic. You don't just fucking go right away send the dick pic.
I have a theory though of what's happened here. This happened back in 2016 apparently, right, with the pictures and everything. So he wasn't GM at the time. Maybe someone isn't a Mets fan and knew of this and has held on to the knowledge until the Mets finally put together a competitive team, right? Because he's brought in Lindor and a bunch of other big stars to the team. Maybe now's the time they're looking to sabotage it and basically say, oh, they're getting too good. We got to drop the bomb.
Maybe it was Alex Rodriguez that found out and he wants to drive the price down of the Mets so he can buy it off Cohen. After
not being able to win the bid because he didn't have enough money.
Exactly.
Maybe. I mean, Cohen's made a lot of money, so I don't think that's the case. Cohen, by the way, he's trying to be the cool GM that talks directly to the fans. He made the firing first thing in the morning, but I will say it must suck to be the guy who's like, yeah, tell us what kind of pretzels we should have in concessions, and then
pretzel.
When this story breaks, is like, yo, Cohen, where are you at? What's going on with this dick pic? And like his timeline must have been flooded. He must have been so furious at the one big hire he made immediately. My goodness.
But hey, maybe the reason he hired Porter was because he said, why should I hire you, in a text message, and Porter replied back with his cock. And he was like, well, that's a man right there. Very ballsy.
Yeah, maybe he got mad that he didn't send him the dick pic immediately. That's why he got fired.
I don't think there's any value in having a thirsty GM. There's no way players are coming to play for a thirsty GM.
But you know what? Maybe they are. Maybe that's been his big negotiating chip all along, right? He's managed to sign all these big time players because part of the negotiation tactic is, you send them an offer, they don't reply. You send them another update on the offer, like, hey, any news? They don't reply, and then you just drop your dick in their tweets, and they go, okay, man, fine, I'll sign. Like, geez.
Big dick energy. You know what I mean? Alex Intern likes to say it a lot. Big dick energy. And you know what? I would like to see this picture. If this picture somehow is released, I would like to see it as a lover of phallic objects. Appreciation of a good piece. I would like to see Jared Porter's penis.
Eagle, when you dig it up on Reddit, just share it in the Google Drive, please.
Yeah.
All right,
guys, that was a lot of fun, but we're going to get to our conversation with Ryan Phillips. The dude, again, we talked about it. He's got a podcast coming out called All Over the Map. There's a couple of documentaries made about him and his story, The Ride to Wellness, King of Weed, and Return to Happiness. He's also got 2 TED Talks. The guy is really interesting. He absolutely robbed me of my productivity yesterday as I went down the rabbit hole. He's a very interesting dude, and we have a great conversation with him coming up next. Welcome back. And as promised, we are joined by Ryan Phillips, former professional hockey player, and more recently, mental health advocate, as well as host of his own podcast, his podcast that he hosts with Elvis Stoico and Jimmy Thompson. That is the All Over the Map podcast. First of all, Ryan, how's it going? And what can you tell us about your show?
It's going wonderful. Super grateful to be on Hot Sauce Sports. Yeah, total honor, guys. And we'll be loving to have you guys on All Over the Map with Elvis Stoico and Jimmy Thompson once we get rocking and rolling on that. What's going on in my life? I'm a little nauseous, not because I'm nervous of being on your show, but because I'm attacking some pretty severe head trauma that I endured back in my major junior hockey days and when I played professional as well. So obviously you had Robbie Shrimp on here, who's a good buddy of mine. You probably know all too well. I don't know if he got into his concussion stuff. We've both endured as most hockey players do. It's a high impact game, and I played 10 years earlier than Robbie, so it was I think maybe a little harder hitting, but not as fast as skating. I think the elbows might have been up in the air a little bit too much. Who knows?
Back in your day, guys were skating like this, and there was nobody to defend you if you weren't the guy defending you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I might as well not even been wearing a helmet.
Yeah, exactly. The helmet, all it does is just stop scrapes, and none of you guys used to buckle it back then either, so it would just fly right off, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So let's get into it. So tell us about your hockey career. Where did it start? Where are you from? Like, tell us about your lineage.
Well, born and raised in North Vancouver, BC, and just like millions of other, young kids growing up, dominating dream to make the National Hockey League. My idol was Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux growing up. The big vision board was my room. It was just Gretzky wallpaper and all Yzerman, all the old boys, whatever. I just fantasize of being out there with my idols. And it's like everything was really awesome. Left home at 16. I was touted one of the top players in Canada at my age, and just the unfortunates of injuries and some a lot of adversity off the ice, and I don't want to get too deep into the hockey culture and make it all about woe is me, the whole rituals and hazing days and whatnot, but I was in those days, and I'm very, very familiar with the Graham James of the world. I knew about all that kind of stuff that was going on with the sexual abuse with Fleury and Kennedy and those guys. 10 years before that even was mainstream news. I heard about that at the back of the bus. Hockey. I turned pro at 20. Went to Kansas and. But right at that, I was about 2 years prior to that, when I was playing in Tacoma, realized that BC Bud was very desired down in the United States of America, and got onto the pioneering leading edge of fueling that illegal industry, which is now legal
in Washington too.
There's a documentary that you guys got that you can feel free to share with all your viewers. Definitely took that business to the highest of levels, paid the ultimate price, did over 500 days in a maximum federal penitentiary. They told me that I was never allowed back. I'm talking real fast because it's probably a 10-part story, not a 1-part story. And, when you do these podcasts, you try to give everybody as much information as possible.
Of course.
I'm hanging on a little bit because they can watch the National Geographic episode or even my own documentary, which I shot as well, which is all about giving back and, learning a lot of the lessons I learned, through hockey. And even in that industry that, I made a change for, I would say, the better, got out of that dangerous game after losing many friends due to, murder, addiction, you name it. Did the prison thing, wasn't too good in isolation. I'm a free spirit traveler. I've been over to 70 countries in my life.
Wow.
Hence all over the map with Elvis and Jimmy.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and that's just my brain, period. But the whole marijuana thing was it was intense, and I don't know. I was told when I was in it they were going to make a movie about it one day. I just and then it came true, and now there's discussion with actually having it as a series, doing like a series like Breaking Bad or
Oh wow, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy kind of style, whatever. But it's totally different. It's the beginning of the BC Bud boom, right? So I was caught in those between two worlds. It was hockey and weed, and now it's world service, and I live by that, and just try to put my best foot forward on a daily basis. I say it over and over and over again on many podcasts. I can't stand the word humanitarian, but in 2012, after crossing Cambodia, I was granted a humanitarian pardon back down to the U.S. of A., where I was supposed to never be allowed back again. And that was all because I humbly say, I was giving back to, I rode my bike across Cambodia to raise awareness to the eradication of human trafficking and child sex slavery. So if you want, that TED Talks is on YouTube as well. I got a couple TED Talks there on YouTube, one on mental health. Just type it in, Ryan Phillips TEDx, and you'll get both of them. So
Ryan, I have to say, I being completely forthcoming, I didn't know a lot about you and your journey before Terry and I started preparing for the interview, and I did a bit of research leading up, and then today is the day I put the script together and get all the research together, and I went down the rabbit hole on you. It's absolutely a fascinating story. The documentaries that you're referencing, of course, are Mental Illness, The Right to Wellness, Return to Happiness, and King of Weed. We saw the shift in Canada with marijuana going from illegal to tolerated to legalized. But I was curious watching this, and especially the time period that this occurred in. I always wonder in situations like this, like what takes someone who, has sort of a career path set out, even if it's not exactly as they sort of saw it happening. They're on the way. They're involved in their career, and then you go from that to selling marijuana. How did that even happen? How did you get into that in the first place?
Well, I was really good at games.
Okay.
So, the game of life, it's, I was always kind of just like the game of hockey. You always got to be, thinking where your next where your next move's going to be. And I saw a vision. It was an opportunity that kind of fell on my lap. I had markets down south that could, because of the exchange rate and the cost, I could send 100 pounds of marijuana down to, say, one of my markets in Seattle back in 95, 96, and, profit $140,000 off 100 pounds, and do that 3 times a week. And I built a team just like a hockey team, really. But it was just marijuana. I just constructed it. It was just a business model. No more, no less. It's just really interesting, I guess.
Are you pro marijuana now? Are you a weed advocate now?
I wouldn't say I'm a weed advocate. I would say that if marijuana works for you on for medicinal purposes, then it comes from the earth. So I would say that having my go in the hockey culture, obviously with alcohol and other substance abuse kind of stuff, that I haven't heard anybody drop dead from marijuana. Let's just say that.
I don't think it's ever happened.
It works for some people and it doesn't work for others, just like alcohol. But I'll never ever tell anybody how to live their life. while I was in that business, I wasn't a smoker. I didn't drink very often either. I was more focused on getting ahead in life, and I took it very serious. And but the more serious it got, the more money that was made. Obviously, more people, dangerous people got involved, and it was time for me to realize that I'd taken enough from the world. Marijuana gave me a platform at that time to travel the world and do whatever I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it. But now I can give back in other ways and, be an inspiration to the best of my abilities to show that it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, what you and who you are now, and what you do doesn't define you. You define you.
Yeah. And I saw in some of the information, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were separated from your daughter for an extensive period of time. And to see now that not only, you obviously can see your daughter, but that you're helping children around the world with regards to human sex trafficking and the sex trafficking of minors. Tell us about how you got involved with that cause and how people listening to this podcast or watching this podcast can help you. Okay, not only help you, but help the cause in general.
It's a really good question, actually, because a lot has changed since that movie Return to Happiness that you'll be able to share with all your listeners. My daughter has gone through her own adversities as of late. She suffers from schizophrenia. That was the onset from 3 concussions that she sustained at quite a young age and was told that she could never play soccer again. And she went down. She's gone down and she's in that rabbit hole of addiction herself right now, which has been very hard on the family. But at the same time, we all make choices. The only thing I can do as a father is be the best version of myself that I can be. Lead by example, and hopefully things won't be too late. She's young, and I always believe that where there's a will, there's a way. You don't have to know how, you just have to know that you will. And she's got my blood in me, which is never give up. And so it's, we're all on our own journeys here, and that's the special thing about life is that every day is a chance to either you decide you're playing the game. You when you leave the door there, it's you either make an intention to go do good in the world, or you do nothing, or you do something that's going to damage other people's well-being or whatever. And I'm just not into that anymore. And yeah, I guess I just woke up that, I saw what money could do for good, and I saw what money could do for bad. And, so much of it was coming in at once, that a lot of it was obviously, as we all know here, when a lot of money is involved in any business, EGO and greed can steep in real quick. And all that instant gratification stuff that people deal with. And, if I can be that conduit to set an example that, of course we need abundance, but abundance for all, and health for all, and community for all, and unity for all, not just, there's no such reality, I say, is something for nothing. It's give and take. It's just like I'm coming on your podcast right now and giving you a bit of me. And you don't have to come on mine, but
we'd love to.
We'd love to. That reciprocation, right? So then you get to say hi to Elvis Stoico, who did backflips in the Nagano Olympics.
Exactly. So you're a salt of the earth kind of guy, and we need more people like you. I mean, you're such a positive person. Watching all the clips that you sent me, honestly, it opened my eyes. And we had a couple weeks ago, we had Shangri-La Rendon. She's from California, by way of the Philippines, and she had gone through her own stuff too, and now she's become this crazy marathon runner, Ironman. She has world records in the Ironman, and she does it through positive coaching and through positive stuff like that. So I mean, we need more people like you two in the world, absolutely. And it's sad to see you're a hockey player. The concussions, it's happened in football too. I was a guy who grew up playing football. We had Robbie Shrimp on, like you said, you mentioned, and he talked about all the concussions and what it did to him, and it gave depression and anxiety and all that stuff. And the one thing that comes out of all of it, out of everybody that we've spoken to about this stuff, is that there's always somebody that's going to listen. So if you have those issues, there's always somebody that's going to listen, and I think that's the biggest message. And that was the one that Shangri-La told us. And in one of your YouTube videos too, that you said it too. You never know that help is there until you go look for it, right? And I think that's it's key. And we don't want another situation like Wade Belak or anything, or Probert or anything like that, to come out and we want to make sure that everybody, you're playing a game, and there might be some consequences to that game, but there's help whenever you need it.
Absolutely. Wade was a really good friend of mine back in the day. We when he played in Saskatoon, and I was playing in Regina at the time, and what a character he was.
What a chin that guy had.
But that was such a shock. I actually remember doing a YouTube video back in 2011 when I was living in Montreal. And that summer, there was 3 of us that went down. It was Rep, Belak, and Derek, obviously. And I remember just doing a video from the heart, just addressing head trauma, headshots in hockey, mental health in hockey. Why is this all coming to the surface so impactfully right now? Hockey players, trauma. Hockey players, ayahuasca. Hockey players, mushrooms. Hockey players, cannabis. Hockey player, is it like the hockey player spiritual revolution here? What's going on?
I think it's because hockey players, when they're outside the circle of hockey, is that they're very charismatic people, so you want to listen to them. Like Biz. Biz is a guy who's talks about mushrooms all the time. Yeah, Biz Nasty. And so that's where it comes from, and we appreciate people like you in the world that can shed a positive light to this.
I think it's all the media training too, right? Where it's all put the puck in the net, play as a team, 110%, next question type of stuff.
But that's the thing. So for so long, I grew up, and hockey players specifically were known to be guys who were closed off, guys who, just they gave the media the minimum. They didn't show any personality, and we're seeing guys in retirement. We're seeing guys even now as they're playing, starting to open up more, be more honest, be more forthright. And it's, as someone who's a fan, as someone who's on our side of the world, we find that more engaging. We find that more interesting, and we love that you guys are showing that kind of character. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. We actually have to cut this short because Eagle needs to be able to get home because we have a curfew in Quebec right now due to COVID.
Right.
So hopefully we can get you back soon. Definitely anytime you want us on your show, we'd be happy to do it. All over the map with Elvis Stoico and Jimmy Thompson. Do look for that. It looks like it's going to be awesome. The documentary.
Actually, this is the first time I'm throwing it out on a podcast is with you guys. So
we're breaking barriers here.
Breaking berries, man. So definitely do check out the documentaries: Mental Illness, The Right to Wellness, King of Weed, and Return to Happiness. Like I said, I spent my whole day not being productive, just researching Ryan Phillips because it's an absolutely interesting story. My dude, the TED Talks too, those were great. If anyone's got an interest in how to make the world a better place, the TED Talks on eliminating child sex trafficking, absolutely eye-opening, definitely worth the watch. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you kindly. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone is out there is doing the best they can with what they got. And, I know these are really trying times, but, it's, in these times of great disconnect, it really is important to have these shows, these podcasts like this, where we can actually give hope and inspiration to the people of the world that need it the most. So
I appreciate that, Ryan. Glad to have you on, buddy.
Peace.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
And we're back.
That was an awesome interview. Really fun to sit down with Ryan Phillips. Like we said, it was probably going to be a more serious interview, but it's really engaging, really interesting. That dude's got so many stories to tell. We're definitely going to have him back because it was just such a small window to get so much information out. Really happy he joined us on the show today.
Yeah, honestly, just going through. I mean, him and I had connected a few weeks ago, and just going through all his videos that he had sent us, so we can talk about and things like that. And honestly, I opened my eyes completely to what kind of a person he is, and it's like you hear his story and you hear like just a snippet of it. When you look deeper, like guys, like I told him, he's a salt of the earth human. He's like, well, we need more people like that. Less people like us, more people like that. That's for sure.
Less douchebags like us, more sweethearts like him.
All right, rapid fire topics. Speaking of douchebags, tabled for later. Dick's Sporting Goods is officially selling tables in the Bills section of their stores. Thoughts, boys?
That's honestly, it's marketing 101 right there.
Genius.
Tell me they're not going to be sold out of those fucking tables. Tell me.
So I hate the Bills because I'm a Dolphins fan. I had to watch I had to watch Kelly rip his way through the Dolphins in Dan Marino's prime. And I grew up just hating them, but I can't hate their fans. They're good people. I love watching them jump through tables. And you see those pizzas shaped like Buffalo Bills? It was awesome.
Unbelievable. I loved it. And I think that we should have more tables around the state of around Western New York, not just in Buffalo. I think we need to have an influx of broken tables in the state of New York.
Albany, tables. Saratoga Springs, tables.
That's Northern New York, but whatever. Tables.
Whatever. I'm just saying cities I know in New York State.
Rochester, tables.
Rochester, tables.
Next, flying off the handle. Philadelphia Flyer Jake Voracek was annoyed by a reporter's line of questioning.
Does the season
we have a clip.
feel, if at all, given the circumstances of the offseason and the condensed schedule and everything?
Doesn't matter what I say, Mike. You're going to write fucking shit every time, so it doesn't matter what you say. Yeah, it feels different. Yeah. I mean, we got 4 points after the first two games. I wasn't even going to answer your question because you are such a weasel. It's not even funny. Next question.
Charlie O'Connor, you're on.
I just love the reaction of the guy sitting next to him. Just like, holy shit.
That's game one.
It's Travis Konechny. He's unbelievable. So that's honestly, I never want to be that reporter that gets ripped on by an athlete. It's like it's a career suicide.
You must have done something bad to piss them off to that level, though. Like, there's no way they just do it for fun, right?
I know that reporter. He's one of those guys that just has never anything good to say.
Yeah,
never anything good to say.
So Barry Bonds is famous for flying off at anybody, but whatever, that was a reputation. Like, and again, we talked about in the interview, a lot of hockey guys don't openly share their personalities. So for him to break ranks like that was, you know, there's got to be a history. We try to maintain a good relationship with everyone we interview for that reason, because we don't want to feel like garbage. That reporter, no way he felt great that day. I love that the way Voracek did it was in the fuck you sandwich, where it was like, you're a piece of shit. Hockey cliche, you're a piece of shit. Nice tidy with that.
I think that Matt Pacioretty would do that to me. I've hated on him so much on Twitter. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but he's a jerk. Whatever. I don't care about it.
Next, high and dry. Tom Brady looks to the referee and tries to give him a high five, but is left hanging after a touchdown.
I didn't see this. This is unbelievable.
It's such a classic. It's so good.
It reminds me of the time Tom Brady was walking around the Patriots bench after they scored a touchdown and nobody was giving him a high five. It's the same thing.
This is funnier, though, because the referee can't do it, right? Clearly, he can't show partisanship. So he knows he's not going to get a high five, and he's in on the joke. Oh, it's so good.
Good on the ref for being in a state of mind to not do it, too.
But that's the thing. Like, I feel like I keep hearing how Tom Brady has this great sense of humor, but we never really see it. We always see him being kind of cheesy. I feel like that's the example. Like, he knows, especially in a season during a pandemic, the referee's not going to give you a high five. And yet Tom Brady goes for it anyway, knowing he's going to get stood up.
I love it.
Next, supersize them. Dan Patrick reported on his podcast called The Dan Patrick Show that head coach Jimmy Pruitt's tenure recruits were handed... Jesus, that was a weird sentence. During head coach Jimmy Pruitt's tenure, there we go, recruits were handed McDonald's bags full of cash in order to sway those players to sign with the team.
I don't know about Jimmy Pruitt, but I know Jeremy Pruitt did it. And it would be... And to me, honestly, what I told you guys too, and it's like, I think that some of those kids probably didn't even notice the cash. They just went straight for the Happy Meal. Like, they see the double cheese in there. They're like, I'm going straight for that shit.
Well, so the first thing you need to know about this is you can't read because the script says Jeremy Pruitt. I saw this story and it's like, look, I guess at least the college athletes are getting paid. But where my mind went to was it's going to be McDonald's, so like it's going to limit the amount of money you get, right? Where if it's like a KFC bucket of cash, maybe that's how Alabama gets Dante Smith.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And maybe that's how. Oh no, it's not. I was going to segue to the next topic, but it's not the next topic. Next,
that's fine. Slim and thick. James Harden is rumored to have ran his way from Houston to Brooklyn based on these pictures, since he has definitely slimmed down. Oh, no, it didn't load. Wait. It's
wrong. I mean, hey,
Here we go. So here's James Harden before, and here's James Harden after.
Angles and black. When you wear black, it's thin. It's slimming. I don't think he lost as much weight as people think he is. Also, listen, Pease, you and I, we know this. If you have like a couple burgers and a couple days in a row, it's going to show. If you give up those couple burgers for a week, you start slimming down a little bit.
Dude, on Sunday, I had 3 slices of bread and like 2 beers, and I woke up 8 pounds heavier.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, like, if you're someone, especially if you're someone who has trouble controlling his weight, and James Harden's, one of these guys, I always say he's the only NBA player ever to not take his shirt off in the club. There's a reason for it. James Harden, he just has that kind of metabolism. He's got the tearing peas in him. He is the hero of this show as far as I'm concerned, because if you can struggle with weight and still win MVPs and scoring titles, you're okay in my book. Honestly, I think it's that. I think it's a combination of red is not flattering, black is flattering. He didn't give a shit about his diet in Houston, then got to Brooklyn and was like, all right, got to play my way into shape. Here we go.
Maybe this goes back to what we were saying, where all the barbecue or the food he's eating in Houston was trash, right? And just all these fatty foods. And now New York, he's eating like the prime sushi from the Atlantic Ocean and everything, and the good pizzas and pastas. Brooklyn.
He's at Junior's Cheesecake. You know what I mean? Like, he's in love. He's eating at Peter Ruger's, having having steaks.
But it's much cleaner food for him, is what it comes down to.
I mean, it depends. I've eaten some awesome stuff. One of my favorite things ever in Brooklyn was I had a tongue taco and a veal cheek taco in the street.
That sounds good.
It was delicious. It was delicious.
All right, one thing you should not be eating in the street is mussel soup. The Detroit Lions have found their head coach and former interim Dolphins coach, Dan Campbell. He is joining the organization, taking over from Matt Rocketman Patricia. Hopefully he can turn that franchise around. Potentially new quarterback in the mix, question mark?
I mean, people were questioning Dan Campbell signing. I think Dan Campbell's been a coach in the NFL since he retired. Since the year after he retired, he was a tight ends coach for the Cowboys, and I think it's a good signing for them. I think he brings like this vibrant, like this pumped up Mike Vrabel style of coaching.
The thing is, Mike Vrabel is smart. I don't know if I could. I have seen enough Dan Campbell press conferences to be like, I don't know. His first practice in Miami, he had everyone wear black and blasted Metallica because he's a cheesy old white guy, not realizing that most guys were born 20 years after Metallica made their debut.
What do you mean? What's the album there? What's the Saint Anger? That came later. Maybe they're
exactly. That's my point. That's the reference point these guys have with Metallica is like, oh, that trash album that came out when I was a kid.
The one that sounds like you're hitting trash cans on.
Exactly. Honestly, I don't know, man. I think they just tried to, when you overcorrect after a relationship where like you date someone and they're one type and you're like, oh no, I can't be with someone like that. I'm gonna go the opposite direction, and then eventually you find someone in between. I feel they had a rocket scientist in Matt Patricia, and now they have the absolute meathead in Dan Campbell.
Closing thoughts. Eagle, you can start the music. Alex, the intern, said he feels genuinely bad for Robert Saleh for having signed as a head coaching job for the New York Jets. He feels genuinely sad for somebody who got the job that he's always wanted.
And not only is it one of the best 32 jobs of that profession, right? Let's say, like, you're not looking at college jobs. You only want to be a head coach in the NFL. It's a great job. You're also going to coach the Jets, where if things go wrong, it's okay because it's the Jets.
And if things go right,
the Jets will get blamed.
You're in New York City. If things go right, you're bigger than Broadway Joe over there.
Yeah, I don't get it. It is what it is. Look, congrats Dan Campbell. Congrats Rob Sala. Terry, man, thank you for everything you've done this week. Again, it was a great interview. Super happy to have Brian Phillips on. Super thankful to Eagle for everything he's done. Those of you who have not yet subscribed, please do subscribe. It's what keeps us going. It's what keeps us providing content, and we do that for all of you. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for letting me be myself.
You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports.
I don't think we